Okay, so today we'll be writing quadratic functions. So basically, we're given some information about a function, and we're asked to write a quadratic. Let's take a look. It says, find the quadratic function that has the indicated vertex and whose graph passes through the given point. So they're giving me a vertex and a point, and I'm asked to write an equation. So I'm going to write it in that vertex form because that seems to me like the easiest way to do that versus to write it into standard form. And the reason is because I have a vertex, my vertex given, which means I have my h and my k. So we think about vertex form of a function being y equals a times x minus h plus k. I have an h and a k, and I also have an x and a y, and I have all these things in this equation. The only thing that I'm missing is the a. So I want to write this as a general equation, for all x and y, and so I need to figure out what a is. So I'm going to start by plugging in my h and k. So I have y equals a times x minus h minus 4 plus k, which is negative 1. And now I'm going to plug in my x and y. I do it in 2 steps so that I don't make any mistakes. So my y is 3 equals a times x, which is 2, minus 4. Oops, I forgot my squareds in all of these. Squared minus 1. Okay? And then now I can actually compute and figure out what a is. So here I have 3 equals a times 2 minus 4, which is negative 2, squared, right? I have to have a squared or it won't be a quadratic, minus 1. Well, here that gives me, I'm going to actually add 1 to both sides because I want to do that squared part last. Let's go do add 1. I'll get 4 equals, and then I can actually square this right now. 2 squared, negative 2 squared is a positive 4, so I have 4a. My last step is to get a by itself by dividing by 4. So now I found that a is equal to 1. So because I'm writing a general equation for all x and y, my equation will have just y and x as general, but now I'm going to plug in my a. So I have 1 for a, so I can write down 1. I don't have to. In the answer key for your homework, you won't have the 1 there. You have 1 times x minus h, which is minus 4, squared minus 1. So really, I'm going back to this second line here, and I'm plugging everything, I'm only plugging in the a and leaving everything else the same. If you have any questions, let me know. Let's go on to the next problem. I'm going to do problem number 5, which I'm given a graph, but I'm going to use the same idea. I need a vertex and a point. So let's first figure out what our vertex is. Okay, the vertex here is 2, negative 1. And a point, I can choose any point, and they nicely gave me some points here that are pricked out. So let's just choose the point next to it, which is 1, 0. So here I have an h and a k and an x and a y. And let's thinking about a times x minus h squared plus k. Let's go ahead and plug in h and k first. So I have a times x minus h, so minus 2 squared plus k, which is negative 1. And now let's go ahead and plug in the point, my x and y. Well, my y is 0 equals a times 1 minus 2 squared minus 1. Well, here let's go ahead and add 1 to both sides. So I get 1 equals a times, and this is 1 minus 2 is negative 1 squared. Well, negative 1 squared is just 1, so I have 1 equals 1a. And if I were to divide both sides by 1, that's still just a equals 1. So in this example, a again is equal to 1. And so when I plug it back into my equation, I'm going to have y equals my a, which is 1, times x minus h minus 2 squared minus 1. And again, in most cases, you'll never see the a written there, but I just wrote it down to see how you would plug that a back into the equation. If you have any questions, see me or Mr. Daniels, and enjoy the rest of your homework.